Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What are the primer books studied in the Shafi'i school? What are the primer books studied in the Shafi'i school? Excuse me. So there are a few things to explain here. Number one, what is the Shafi'i school? What is the school first and foremost? And then what do we mean by primer books over and above the primary aspect? So firstly, a madhhab is a school of thought, right? That's how we translate it. Essentially, it means it is a system of legal interpretation of the Quran and the Sunnah within traditional Islam that facilitates for a Muslim to follow the Quran and the Sunnah in a systematic way, avoiding contradictions and avoiding having to decipher exactly what to do at every stage in their worship journey. The madhhab presents them with a coherent system of applying the law from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from the other sources of Islamic law, so that you and I, the followers, can approach the law, can understand the law, and can apply the law in our lives without much difficulty. So that is essentially what a madhhab is. Now, traditionally, we speak about 4 madhahib. This is not an injunction by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there's supposed to be 4 madhahib and, we stick to that only. But rather, this is a natural and organic development within our Islamic history. There were many other madhahib, but these are the 4 that stood the test of time, that were recorded meticulously, that have a plethora of works that elaborate on the principles of the school. We have the legal theory of the school, so we can understand the systematic approach, in terms of how they interpreted the law and why they derived a certain conclusion. So those are the 4 madhahib. And for traditional Muslims, we know of the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Hanbali school, and the Shafi'i school. The Shafi'i school, which is the school that we are approaching this particular answer series with, is one of the major schools, and it has certain unique approaches within Islamic law. But when you study the Shafi'i school, there are generally certain works that a student of Islam, a student of Islamic law, would go through, and they would be the world-renowned textbooks within that particular school. So for the Shafi'i school, some of the primer works, some of the early works or textbooks that one would study, and this is not based on the historical development of the school, but rather just where we are today and what is the most accessible and the most widely studied and read books within the madhab. That would be the likes of Safinatun Najah, or the Ship of Salvation by Imam Salim ibn Sumayr al-Hadrami. A course that we actually teach here on Seeker's Guidance is Imam al-Hadrami's Safina, or the Ship of Salvation, taught by myself, and you may register for that course for free on seekersguidance.org, wherein we cover the fundamentals of the Shafi'i school, specifically in terms of the acts of worship. This is one of the primers that students generally cover. Another such primer would be Matn al-Ghaya wa Taqrib, or also known as Matn Abi Shuja' by Imam Abu Shuja'. And this particular text, while also being a primer, covers the full spectrum of sacred law. So not only the acts of worship like salah, tahara, zakah, etc., but also the matters under the broad spectrum of mu'amalat, or social and contract law. So that would be Matn al-Ghaya wa Taqrib. Among the other primers are the Muqaddimah al-Hadramiyya and al-Yaqut al-Nafis. And then some of the more advanced texts that a student would essentially come across and study, if they are a serious Shafi'i student, would be Umdatu Salik, or the Reliance of the Traveler, another course that is available here on seekersguidance.org, and the Mufta Bihi book, like the go-to book for giving fatwa, would essentially be the Minhaj al-Talibin of Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, along with the various shuruhat or exegetical works written on Imam al-Nawawi's Minhaj. Top of the list there would be the Tuhfat al-Muhtaj, and that would be by Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, along with the books by Imam al-Ramli, Imam Khatib al-Shirbini, and others who have all written commentaries on Imam al-Nawawi's Minhaj al-Talibin. So those are essentially the primers or the textbooks that students go through when studying the Shafi'i school. There may be some others as well, studied within certain schools and within certain madaris around the world. But these are some of the essential primers that students generally traverse through. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always grant us beneficial knowledge. And something that we can also take from this is, over the years, over the centuries, all the madhahib have somehow developed themselves to a position where they have a very systematic approach to studying Islamic law, from very basic texts all the way to advanced texts. And traditional seminaries around the world continue to hold these texts, even though they may have been written hundreds of years ago, as sacred, because Islamic law remains sacred. And this does not imply that the law is stagnant or that there's no new thoughts, because there's always new circumstances when it comes to Islamic law. But these are the primers that one would go through first before getting to those advanced stages of being able to then apply the law to new cases and then understanding those cases as well. Barakallahu li wa lakum.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.